All right, fellow fantasy footballers, welcome to the first episode of the TSPN network that we are tentatively calling The Pilot. Our first segment, we're going to talk with kind of the brainchild of TSPN, David Brougham. You guys know him as Bromy's Homies in the TFL, or Bromy's Little Homies. How creative was that? And the TCAA. We're going to go talk with him first, and then in our second segment, we're going to talk with Jeff Howard, who was our first champion of our Dynasty League when the TFL converted to the Dynasty League, and then again won back-to-back champions was a back-to-back champion in 2012. After that, we're going to be releasing the first TCAA Preseason polls, and then Mr. Brougham is going to be interviewing me. I'm going to put on my Brian Goodell personage that you faggles keep calling me. So, and then we're going to go through the first two rounds of our mock draft that David's been working on. You guys keep trading, keep screwing him up and all that. He really loves all the moves you guys have been making. I'm sure draft day will be no exception with us being live. But anyway, I want to first start off with David. David, what is TSPN?
TSPN is basically something that both me and yourself come up with to try and bring fantasy football to a whole new level.
So, what can we come to expect from TSPN? What avenues are we looking to go down? What kind of shows are we looking at?
Basically, we're gonna rip off ESPN. We're gonna have every show, like we're gonna have a couple of fantasy sports centers called Fantasy Center. We're thinking of also having a morning show, a 4-hour show as you drive into work, or for some people on the West Coast when they get up. We're going to
I think Will and John's gonna be hosting that, right?
I think so. I think we're also gonna have a happy hour. We're gonna try and get some potheads, and really what we're trying to do is get as many people involved in as many shows as possible, whoever wants to be involved in this thing.
Right, and that's something that we have recently discovered is Google Hangouts. You know, when you and I first started talking about doing this, you know, we were just talking about just recording shows. We were going to have to rip them, going to have to put our audio together and everything. And we were planning on just having one show a month, maybe, is what we had initially discussed. And now that we've got this avenue, like he said, every probably Tuesday night or so, we're talking about doing a fantasy center, recapping the week before, previewing the week that's coming.
The week that was, the week that is.
The week that is, right? And we can pick winners and stuff. We got all kinds of just ideas flowing. But the beautiful thing of it is anybody can participate. I know Ben is wanting to kind of start like a trash talking show called Ben Scott's Throwdowns, where basically he just would pick one team that's facing each other and let them get on there and just run their mouth. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But what kind of ideas are you looking at going toward the upcoming season? Like what kind of things can we expect like from future shows?
Basically, as you just touched on there with the having everyone talk about that whole thing, we got projections for the week. Probably Super Bowl projections, playoff projections, over-unders, basically we're going to bring the whole gambling aspect as well. I'm sure we'll probably have a gambling talk show involved in there as well. I heard John Anthony may be coming on to do his picks. Well-renowned. He's worked with Al Pacino. Pretty good.
Get some Frank Kelly in doing here maybe?
Yeah, man, I don't know about Frank Caliendo. He's out of our pay grade. Kind of really running on a low budget here, so I'm not really sure how we're going to pull that off. But basically, weekly shows. Want to just try to bring a different avenue to fantasy football that I don't think any of us has ever been done before.
Okay. Well, first, for our first guest, we're going to go ahead and go to him now. I know we've been trying to set this up for about an hour and a half now. For those of you that are just listening live, we had some internet issues, so. But I want to go ahead and bring in our back-to-back first and second Super Bowl champion in the years 2011 and 2012, if I remember correctly. It's Jeff Howard of the Rampant Lions down in Florida. How you doing, Jeff?
Doing great. Good to be here.
And it's good to talk to you again. Jeff, I'm going to start with my question, then we'll let David kind of chime in here and there. We've given you a list of questions going. We're going to throw some in, kind of just see how you react. Also, how does it feel to be the first owner interviewed by our new network here?
I have to say it's quite an honor. I think this is a pretty cool idea we got going on to get TSPN network going, and thank both of you guys for putting all the good work together.
No problem.
Okay, and when did the Rampant Lions, which is the team that you are currently running, realize that dispensing the pain was going to be their toughest challenger ever?
Well, first couple of seasons, I'll tell you, the Big Orange Army, they had a lot out there going for me, and I think first season ended up going undefeated, but it was quite a challenge with the Big Orange Army both times that I played them. And then second season, they seemed to have my number, so they were pretty much the ones that had me. Now that we've expanded out, the league has gotten a lot tougher, and I'm in a very difficult conference right now with both Will and Daniel as well.
So I noticed you dodged the question there about being dispensing the pain as your toughest challenger ever. So I'm going to have to press on it again. I mean, how did it feel when you had to succumb to them this past season?
Well,
you didn't want to go there.
This past season, it really didn't break my heart too bad to lose anybody. We struggled a lot with injuries. It was a very rough season for us, and unfortunately we weren't always able to put our best team out there on the field. But we'll be ready to come back this year, and we'll get you.
Well, you were the first and the only back-to-back champion that we've had. Your first one had to feel good, because I know you were somewhat new to fantasy football, especially the dynasty, like most of the guys in this league were. But how did it feel when you were able to repeat?
Man, it felt great. Man, it was quite a surprise to be able to pull it out that second year. I mentioned before, struggled with a lot of injuries, but I was very fortunate enough to make some good trades come down the end of the wire that really brought our team through the end. So it was all-around experience and a whole lot different than just the original fantasy football format.
Hey, Jeff, it's David here again. Do you think there's ever going to be another repeat champion since the league expanded so big with all these teams?
That's tough to say. Just like the real NFL, there's a lot of good teams out there. You never know what's going to happen. But I do think it's possible for another repeat. The way that we have a league set up, managing our contract years and salaries, I think it's very possible for you to put together 2 to 3 good years worth of players out there on the field before you end up having to trade them away or you lose them. And absolutely, I think it's possible to have another repeat. But I don't think it's going to happen for another couple of years.
Jeff, you've already you kind of touched on my next question a couple times now, which was what was it like having to constantly deal with your starting players getting hurt during your 2000 championship round? Because I'm going to tell you, every week, I know I talked with you and spoken with Daniel a couple times. Jeff screwed this week. He's not going to be able to do it this week. We just kept saying he's going to go down. His season's hurt here. He's done, and it seemed like you're just biting and clawing, and you kind of come back up. And there were 2 things that could be guaranteed. And 1, you were going to have a starter that went down and got hurt, and 2, the Big South Bandits was going to have one of the best teams in the league, but he couldn't start the right players.
Yeah, that's you're absolutely right. 2012 season wasn't really as bad as what you may think because I did have a lot of depth. That was the first year that we had expanded to 12 teams, and I was fortunate enough to be able to draft very well that season, so I had a lot of depth. 2013 was a whole different year. Wow, it was real tough. You're right. Seemed like every week, I had starter go down, Steppers out for the entire season, and it was just scrapping and clawing and paying close attention to the waiver wires and who was out there trying to be active in the trades. This league's a lot more than just the initial draft at the beginning of the season. You've got to be involved, got to be active with your drafts and your picks and watching who's up and who's down at the time.
Okay, and what would you like to see next happen in the TFL? I mean, we've got this expansion going on here with TSPN and everything, but I mean, what do you think should be the next thing out there?
It's hard to put a finger on one single thing. Anything that we can do to bring more involvement, more active, get active owners going. The TSPN, it's a great idea for those who like to participate in this sort of thing, and even if they just want to listen to it. But anything that we can do just to have active owners. The last thing I would like to see is a dead league where somebody just throws a lineup together last minute on Thursday or Saturday or Sunday, depending on which week it is, and never even paying attention to it until the scores are out. I think we need to constantly evaluate the rules. As the NFL itself changes, we need to evaluate scoring and making sure that offensive, defensive players are balanced with the way that they can score. That way, one position can't dominate any one single week. And same thing, that one position isn't going to be pointless to even have out there on the field. So.
Well, Jeff, we appreciate you joining us, and we'll try to have you back on maybe after you maybe, I don't know, pulled it out this season. You never know. You got some stiff competition just in this forum here in particular. But I appreciate your time. You're more than welcome to hang out with us if you want to as we go on to our next segment.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thank you. All right, and next we're going to go over something that's brand new for our league here. I know for the last 10 years or so it's just been TFL, and then the majority of you came over with the Dynasty League, and I had several that left that did not like it. But we kind of expanded. I kind of stuck with it. I always say you throw stuff in people's face enough, they're gonna bite on, they're gonna catch it. And then this year, David and Will, I believe Jeff and Daniel and myself, we were all just kind of talking, throwing some ideas out there, and we were talking about David and I were talking about how much we despised the college league that we were in last year. And then, of course, my wheels got to turn. Yeah, hated it. My wheels got to turning, and I remember I texted him and I said, OMG, I've got another thought. And
I said, oh, God.
Yeah, it's like, oh, no, here he goes again. But TCAA was formed, which, for those of you that don't know, it's a college format, but it uses the professional rosters, which is something I could not get people to understand half the time when I was recruiting for this thing. But it works kind of the same as far as the rosters go. In that with the AFC and NFC, they have a different set of rosters. The TCAA is the same way. You got it. Right now we just have 3 conferences of 6 teams. It's the Big East, the SEC, and the ACC. And the way that works is there are only 6 teams, yes, instead of 12, which seems kind of crazy, but there is an active 40-man roster. You got to think of it as a college format again. You have players that are freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior, plus you have red shirts and all that. And the idea is to be able to drop and add all the time. You can drop a player, release him from scholarship, but you can't add anybody unless you're absolutely dead in the water as far as being in any position goes. And you're going to be recruiting throughout the year to get players that'll be incoming. But that just kind of gives you a rundown. But I know the 18 teams that are in it, we have been drafting via text for, what, about 2 months, David? Or maybe longer. I don't know how long we've been doing it.
It feels like
been a
forever.
while. Yeah, it's been a while. And I know it's been hard, and everybody's kind of stuck with it, and I appreciate that. But we want to do something exciting for our first show and release the first ever TCAA preseason rankings. And I know nobody knows these rankings but me. I have not told anybody yet. David doesn't even have any idea where he ranks. So,
no.
And I was going to have the number 1 team on here. He does know where he was ranked, but he had internet issues, and we could not get him on here. But so, without any further ado, number 1 in the TCAA preseason rankings, and this team did have 3 first-place votes, and that is the Dragon Slayers, which is Austin Barnett. which is my boy. But yeah, anyway, taught him well. He knows how to draft at least. Number 2 is my co-host, Bromy's little homies. You had no first place votes, but you had several. You had several top 3 votes in your favor. I think you only had 1 vote outside the top 10, if I remember correctly. Number 3, yours truly also, Big Orange Militia. I had no number 1s. I had a bunch of number 2s, and I had a couple that had me ranked outside the top 10. Number 4 is Garnet and Black, which is Jonathan Sawyer. I know most of you never met him. He had 2 first place votes. Number 5 is the University of Ron Swanson Carnivores. That is Jared Riddle, who also plays in the TFL. He is the Sriracha Angry Chickens. He's a good friend of my boy Josh Cloyd. Number 6, and this guy had 4 first place votes, but the reason he's number 6 is because even though he had a bunch of first place votes, he was also ranked 16th and 17th by 4 or 5 teams. I can't remember, but it's Tedzilla, which is Ted Shaver. He's a guy I played softball with. Number 7 and had 1 first place votes is Screaming Gophers. That is Zach Dean, which is one of Austin's friends. Number 8 is the Vestal Virgins, which is Jeff Cruz. That's one of Jared's roommates, I believe, or best friends. I can't remember. Number 10 is the Mysterious Spartans, which is Garrett Bray. Most of you know him as the Nashville Smashers from TFL. See, number 11, the Silver Arrows, which is Chris Sawyer. It's Jonathan's brother. Both of those are patients of mine, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. Let's see. Number 12 is Terry Tate's Pain Train. His name is John. That's one of Ted's friends. He also had 1 first place vote, but he had a ton of number 17s and number 18s, which I didn't have him ranked that high, but I thought those were quite low. Let's see, and number 13 is the Throwdowns, which is Ben Scott. Most of you know Ben as Skinbots from the TCAA. I mean, from the TFL, excuse me. Let's see. Number 14 is the Volunteers, which was, that's Jason Royston. He's a guy I went to high school with and currently go to church with. Let's see. The next is Bryan Made Me Do It, which is DJ Lowry. Tried to be a bit of a comedian. I was on him about getting me a team name, and he was like, "No, okay, Bryan Made Me Do It." There we go. But he had 1 first place vote also, but had a lot of high votes also. I mean, low votes also. Let's see. Number 16 is the Woodbury Walkers. That's Mitchell Gortney, who I also went to high school with, coached his son in a few sports. And number 17 is the Asheville Aardvarks. That's Brian Quillen. He was a student I had at the pharmacy. And then last is the Funk, which is Daniel Kincaid. That is Dispensing the Pain from the TFL. And it would appear that we have lost David, I believe, is what I was told during that. Jeff, you're still with me though, right? Hello? Okay, well, apparently we're still having internet issues, so... Oh, there he is, hey.
I'm here with you. Looks like Bromy's in and out, though.
Yeah, I saw that. So we've had internet issues all night. So, well, I believe, I guess with that, since Bromy cut out, and we're probably going to have the same internet issues that we had, we'll just cut this first episode short, and we'll get to those final 2 segments later. But that gives everybody the TCAA preseason rankings, and I appreciate you listening. And we'll try to figure out this internet issue, try to figure out what is going on, what we're doing wrong here. But hopefully catch us back for something not called the pilot. We kind of wanted to go a different route, and then couldn't really decide on a name, but we wanted to get this film, get it out there before the draft. So appreciate you listening again, Jeff. Thank you for joining me.
Absolutely, glad to be here again.
Likewise, and you guys have a good evening, and we'll catch you again on episode 2.